Hello, Joseph here with another video. And today I'm going to talk about a musician that you don't hear spoken about too much in the vinyl jazz community. And the person I'm going to be talking about today is jazz drummer Mal Lewis. And what got me thinking about Mal Lewis was recently I've had this album for quite a few years and I hadn't spun it in a while. And this album is by the Bill Holman Mal Lewis Quintet called Jive for Five. And you can see it's got a pretty unique cover, cartoon drawing of all the guys in the band. And this is really an outstanding West Coast jazz album. And it's on a small label called Rex or Andex, the Andex record label. And it's an excellent sounding album also. Some of the guys on the album are, of course, Bill Holman, the famous arranger. He's more known for his arranging skills with Stan Kenton, among others. But here he's featured on tenor sax, and he's very outstanding on tenor. And also, of course, we have the great Mal Lewis on drums, Jimmy Rolls on piano, and a trumpet player I never had heard of before. His name is Lee Katzman. And apparently, I think he came up with Stan Kenton and some of the other big bands. And he was known as a guy with a lot of chops. He had a great high range, apparently. But here, he's an outstanding soloist and very tasty in all regards of soloing. And I really enjoy his playing on this album. But this got me thinking about the drummer Mal Lewis, because here he's always tasty and never gets in the way of the music, but always brings the best out of the music, and just a very swinging, tasty drummer. And so I got to thinking about the other Mal Lewis albums in my collection. So I'm going to look at those also. Next up is Mal actually got his start with, among others, was the Stan Kenton Band back in the 50s. And this is one of my favorites by the Kenton Big Band. This is called Contemporary Concepts. It's on the Capitol label. But this is, as I said, one of the best Kenton albums, I think, especially for that era. Great band, Stan on piano, Sam Noto on trumpet, and Al Prasino also on trumpet. On saxophone is Charlie Mariano, Lenny Niehaus, who does some of the arrangements, Bill Perkins, Max Bennett, and of course, Mal Lewis. And once again, Mal Lewis makes that big Kenton orchestra really swing, and it really got me once again thinking of the great drumming of Mal Lewis. But Contemporary Concept, Stan Kenton. And as you can see, my cat Persia wants to be part of the video here, so she'll be all right. And of course, how most people know of Mal Lewis is through the Thad Jones Mal Lewis Orchestra. This is their first release on the Solid State label. And this album here, I actually got for my father back in probably 67, 68 as a Christmas gift. And because he was really a big band freak, fanatic, he just really enjoyed big bands. He was an aspiring trumpet player back in the day. And he just loved the excitement of big band music. In fact, he would take my mom and myself to the different clubs in LA in the 70s. And we would see many of the big bands that were coming through town. Among them were Stan Kenton, Woody Herman, Buddy Rich. And on one rare occasion, we actually saw a rare appearance on the road of the Thad Jones Mal Lewis Orchestra. And really an outstanding band. I remember part of that band was John Faddis, Cecil Bridgewater. I think Pepper Adams was still in the band at that time. And how exciting that was to see a band of that caliber. I believe we saw them at the Dante's nightclub there in North Hollywood. But this is the first album on Solid State, the first album period by the band. And of course, it's got outstanding musicians as they would throughout the years. Just an example of some of the musicians here are Jerome Richardson on sax, Joe Farrell on sax, Jerry Dagian, Eddie Daniels, and of course Pepper Adams on Barry, Richard Williams, Danny Stiles, Jimmy Nottingham, Bob Brookmeyer, who does also some of the arrangements, and of course Richard Davis on bass and Hank Jones on piano. But One of the things that really shines about the Thad Jones Mal Lewis, besides the tasty drumming of Mal Lewis, is of course the leader, the co-leader, Thad Jones, his excellent trumpet playing or flugelhorn playing in some cases, and the amazing arrangements that Thad would do for the band. And in this case, in these early days, it was some of Bob Brookmeyer's arrangements also. But this is the Thad Jones Mal Lewis and the Jazz Orchestra, their premiere album on Solid State. They have several albums on the Solid State label. This is another one, Thad Jones Mal Lewis Jazz Orchestra, Central Park North. And once again, this is a lot of the same band that was on the other album, but one outstanding track on here is Jive Samba, the Cannonball Adderley tune. And once again, Mal Lewis, he lays down a pretty funky beat, and it really makes for a good rendition of a big band version of Jive Samba. But a great album all across the way. There's a beautiful tune called Quietude, and some the opener is Tow Away Zone, kind of another big band groover. But Thad Jones and the Mal Lewis Jazz Orchestra, Central Park North. More of Thad Jones, Mal Lewis, and this is called Thad Jones and Mal Lewis Potpourri, and this is on. What's unusual about this one? It's on the Philadelphia International Records. Of course, out of Philadelphia, they were more known for their soul, soul music, and Gamble and Huff. But here is, I think this was the only release they did on Philly International. And this is the band a little bit later. This is in the 70s, and they have guys like Billy Harper on tenor, Cecil Bridgewater on trumpet, Jimmy Knepper on trombone, George Mraz in the bass chair. But this is really another outstanding album by Mal and Thad and the band. Here they get into some contemporary music. They do a great cover version of Don't You Worry About a Thing by Stevie Wonder. Also a version of Living for the City by Stevie. So this is a really outstanding later day Thad Jones and Mal Lewis potpourri on the Philly International label. More later day Thad Jones, Mal Lewis, and this one I found in the dollar bins one time a couple years ago, and this is Thad Jones, Mal Lewis Orchestra. It only happens every time. And there's a picture of Monica Zetterlund, who also sings on the album, her and Thad there. And I believe this was recorded in Europe, and it's on the Inner City label. And here's a picture of the whole band there. And I can say this, I believe, is recorded in Sweden. It's got the beautiful vocals of Monica Zetterlund. And once again, a great band here. Jerry Dajian still on saxophone. Dick Oates, who was with the band for many years also. And Earl Gardner, Rufus Reid on bass, and Harold Danko. But once again, the great vocals of Monica Zetterlund, who you might be familiar with her with the album she made in tandem with Bill Evans in the early 60s. And here's another album by Thad and Mal, but this is in a quartet, which is very unusual because, of course, they were known for the big band. And this is called the Thad Jones Mal Lewis Quartet. That's all it's called, and it's on a small label. Not even sure the name of the label. Artist House label. And this is really excellent example of Thad and Mal in a small group setting. There's the band. There's Harold Danko on piano and Rufus Reid on bass. And here he does beautiful standards, But Not For Me, This Can't Be Love, Autumn Leaves. And it really gives you a chance to hear Thad in a small group setting later in his career. And once again with the tasty swinging drums of Mal Lewis. And finally, I'd like to share with you another small group setting by Mal, and this one is called the New Mal Lewis Quintet Live. And this was recorded live in Europe once again. I'm not sure exactly where, but in Munich. Yeah, Austria, in Munich. And once I say this is the New Mal Lewis Quintet Live. And here he's joined by often overlooked trumpeter Bill Hardman, who spent some time with the Jazz Messengers, among others. Kai Winding on trombone, and Joe Gallardo on piano, who was a real presence here in Texas. He recorded with Luis Gasca, Little Joey La Familia, among others, and Wilbur Little on bass and Mal Lewis on drums. This is like you're in a club setting here with Mal and the band, but everybody's in great form here, including Bill Hardman on trumpet and, of course, Mal Lewis on drums. So that's a look at some Mal Lewis albums, Thad Jones and Mal Lewis albums. So I would say anytime you see some Thad Jones, Mal Lewis albums, pick them up if you like great big band jazz. And anytime you see some of the smaller group settings of Mal and Thad also, pick those up because they're definitely cheap heat and usually can be found in the $1 or $5 bins. But that's all for today. Like, subscribe. Joseph out.